Hi everyone, thanks for stopping by my channel today. We're really excited to be sharing some of our favorite Wean in 15 recipes by Joe Wicks that we've been using for Nova's first month of baby-led weaning. And I'll be sharing 5 recipes with you today of our favorites. The journey's been really exciting, and I've just found his resource great for quick and easy meals that are also freezer friendly and easy to prepare in advance as a busy new mom.
Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time meeting me today, my name's Kathy and I'm a South African expat mom. I live here in Dubai with my husband Dane and our almost 7-month-old baby girl Nova. So today's video is going to be all about our baby-led weaning journey for the past month. We've been following Joe Wicks' Wean in 15 book as a reference and a guide. Being a mom is busy and I'm all about convenience at this point in life. So I want to make sure Nova's still getting good healthy food and good nutrition in, and that we're able to stick to a little bit of a routine for her when it comes to mealtime. So that just means being prepared and having a few things in the freezer if we need to grab and go. A little bit of recipes and how-tos, and then also some meal prepping, because some of the recipes I'm doing today are easily freezable. So it's quick and easy for you to prepare a bulk batch and pop some in your freezer so it's on the go and you guys don't need to be in the kitchen for any longer than you need to. If you are a first-time mom and you're starting out on your baby-led weaning journey and you're a little bit like me, it can be quite nerve-wracking trying to figure out what foods to give your baby and how to prepare the foods correctly, and then ultimately watching them eat the food and hoping that everything goes down. A little bit about our schedule and what our feeding schedule looks like at the moment with Nova. So she's still getting the bulk of her nutrition from breast milk, so I'm still feeding her regular probably 5 to 6 feeds a day, and then we've just slotted food in, her solids in, between the feedings. So a typical day, we pretty much start off with breastfeeding when she wakes up in the morning, and then about 45 minutes to an hour later, when my husband and I are having our cup of coffee, I'll offer her breakfast in the high chair, and we try to do this around the table so that it's sort of creating a little bit of a mealtime environment and something that she gets used to early on. She'll then go down for her nap usually and wake up. Again, we'll do another feeding, and I then offer her a lunch at about 12 or 12:30. We've only been doing 2 meals a day for now, but I think she's more than ready for us to introduce a supper time. I just found our bedtime routine, so from like 5 to 6:30 with bathing and getting her ready for bed and doing a feed. She's a bit grumpy. I wasn't comfortable throwing in a supper meal from the get-go. So yeah, I was just doing breakfast and lunch, but we're definitely going to introduce her to suppers now moving forward. The first week that we started with solids, we were serving her only single food vegetables. So we weren't blending veggies together. We were basically steaming broccoli and then serving her broccoli, or cutting her avo and she was having avo on its own. We did that for the first week, and it's just what's recommended in the Wean in 15 book to give your baby a chance to experience food in its most natural state and also get used to vegetables as opposed to sweeter flavors like fruits, which obviously they're going to love so much more. So the theory behind it obviously is that your baby will be less of a fussy eater when it comes to veggies if it's the first sort of tastes that they're exposed to, which does make a lot of sense. So I'll link down below what our little meal plan looked like for that first week. So after the first week, we were able to start combining ingredients to create delicious meals for her, and we also started to introduce allergens like nuts and dairy and wheat, things like that, so that we could start eliminating or seeing if she was actually allergic to anything. So this process could be a bit nerve-wracking as a first-time mom, but yeah, it's something you have to do. And the sort of mindset has changed from the past, where a lot of the previous research that was given to parents informed you to only start introducing those types of allergens like nuts, wheats, dairy, shellfish to your baby once they were over a year old, where latest research is actually showing that the earlier you introduce those ingredients to them, the less likely they are to actually develop an allergy later on in their lives. So the general rule of thumb, if you are going to be doing your allergen tests, is to try only one allergen at a time. So you wouldn't, for example, do nuts and wheat on the same day, because if your baby were to have a reaction, you wouldn't be sure which ingredient caused that reaction. And then also just to try and do the allergen test early on in the day, so you've got a couple of hours where you're awake and able to just keep an eye on your baby and see if they are developing any kind of allergic reaction. So we would do, for example, to try nuts, we tried almond butter on toast. So it was a breakfast meal, and it gave me the whole day just to monitor Novi and see if she had any kind of reaction. You can obviously chat to your pediatrician about this. It's important to note I am in no ways a nutritionist or pediatrician. I'm just sharing our experience and what we've learned along the way. So I'll be sharing 5 recipes with you today and just taking you through step for step how I prepare the meals for her. I'll include a few breakfast options and then also lunch or dinner options. I generally like to prepare some of the food fresh, but like I mentioned, it is convenient having a little freezer stash, especially on like weekends where you might be out and about in town and you might need to quickly prepare something for her on the fly. So I really love using the Joe Wick's Weaning 15 book, because it clearly indicates which recipes are freezer friendly. So there's a little blue icon which shows that, and like here you can see, and it also shows gluten-free recipes and also no-cook recipes. So if you need to prepare something and you don't even have time to cook, you can still get away with that. So these are the items we're using to prepare Nova's meals. So we've just got a stainless steel pot steamer that we use to steam her vegetables and salmon, etc. This is nothing special. It's something I had in my cupboard and it's working out just fine. We didn't go ahead and buy a baby food maker or processor because we just didn't feel it was necessary. The whole point with baby-led weaning is to try and keep the food whole and natural. So we've been getting away with just steaming the veggies, and then where needed, we're just using a food processor, and other veggies like butternut and potato, we just mash with a fork so that she's still getting that more natural texture of what the food is like. Then we also invested in these little silicone ice cube trays. These are really helpful because some of the recipes are quite a large portion, and rather than waste or have to recook and prepare food time and time again, you can just put the excess in to the little ice cubes and then pop out as you need. So we know, for example, these two blocks or 2 cubes equals 1 tablespoon, so that's like 1 portion for Novi at this stage. Then we've got a little crinkle cutter, which is super helpful for cutting your vegetables prior to steaming, especially things like potato, sweet potato, butternut, even avocado. A friend actually recommended I serve my avocado like this. And it just creates little grooves in the veggies and fruit, so baby's able to grab and grip it much easier. And then lastly, we've got the Joe Wick's Weaning 15, which I did feature on my getting ready for baby-led weaning. It's been super helpful. We've loved, it's got instructions right from the very beginning of how to introduce your baby to foods, the theory behind his recipes, and it's even got little like meal plans. So this was helpful for us. It gave you 2 weeks of different veggies to try. We only did I must be honest, we only did 7 days and then we moved on to other veggies. I did try to do quite bitter vegetables though, just to get her used to those types of tastes. So that was a lot of fun. And then we're now in the next part of the book where we're getting to do combined flavors with these gorgeous recipes all worked out for you and just really easy to follow.
So our first recipe is carrot porridge, which is literally one of Nova's favorite breakfasts. It's a great way to get their veg in. So I'm just pouring 250 ml of whole milk into the pot, as well as 30 grams of porridge oats, and then 1 carrot peeled and finely grated. It's around 40 grams grated weight. And then just to season it, because obviously we're not adding any salt, I'm going to be adding around a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And this is a really great way to add some spice and flavor to your baby's oats. So cook on a low heat once it's come to the boil, and let it become really soft and creamy. It takes around 10 minutes. So this portion makes about 12 tablespoons or ice cubes, and I have frozen it and it freezes really well, so you can make this ahead in advance. And here I've just served it with some poached pears. Our next recipe is avocado and basil mousse served with finger toast. This is a great lunch or dinner recipe, and it's also no cook, so you don't have to worry about cooking in front of a stove. I've chosen to use a Hass avocado variety. I just find these avos are very buttery and delicious, and I've made sure it's perfectly ripe. I'm now going to cube the avocado, and then I'm going to spoon it into our food processor. Avocado is jam-packed with healthy fats, so it's a really great ingredient to be using in your baby's introduction to solid food. It's also a lovely soft texture and incredibly palatable for them, so they're probably going to enjoy eating it. It's easy to do. Joe Wicks encourages that you use fresh herbs like basil in a lot of their recipes, and that exposes your baby to maybe stronger flavors from the beginning. So I'm just adding here around 1 tablespoon of finely chopped basil. And then I'm adding now some coconut cream. The recipe called for coconut milk, but I only had coconut cream in my cupboard, and honestly, it just makes it super light and fluffy once it's been through the food processor. So use what you've got in your pantry. You should be left with this light, fluffy, creamy mousse, and the smell from the basil is absolutely amazing.
So I'm just using whole wheat bread. It's obviously a little bit healthier and there's less refined sugar than in white bread, but I have chosen not to go with a multi-grain or seeded bread at this stage. I'm just a bit nervous about the little seeds getting caught in her throat. So to prepare her toast, I usually just set our toaster timer down to about 2 minutes, so just to keep the bread quite soft and easy for her to basically suck away at and soften herself in her mouth. So I then pop that in and allow it to toast away. So the bread's very lightly toasted, it's still quite soft, and I'm now going to just show you how I cut off the crusts of the bread.
Just using a kitchen scissors, I take off the crusts and the edges. I feel they're a bit hard. I don't want Nova choking on them. And then I cut the bread into finger-sized little slices that are easy for her to grab and hold. It should be the same length and width as your finger. This recipe can keep up to 2 days in the fridge, but I prefer just to freeze it, and then the avocado doesn't go brown. So it can make 10 tablespoons or 10 ice cube portions. These little silicone ice trays work really well. I got them on Amazon, and we know that 2 of the little blocks equals 1 tablespoon. So I've got about 6 portions in this little freezer tray now for her. This is a great recipe. Nova absolutely loves it. Butternut cinnamon mash with almond butter. So I'm just going to be steaming some butternut. I just demonstrate you how I portion it out, and I like to do it like this because you'll see the lower half of the butternut is easier to cut into finger-sized lengths, which I'm going to create little sweet potato fries for her, which go into the steamer. Of course, they're not fried. But so here I'm just dicing up the neck of the butternut now, which we're going to put into steam, and that's the bulk that we're going to be using to make the mash itself. It can be quite chunky dice because you're going to be mashing it anyways. Here I'm halving the bottom half of the butternut now, and I'm going to be using these little quarters to create those fry-like portions for Novi. It's really easy to grip. I'm using my crinkle cutter that I spoke about earlier, and this creates those ideal little grooves which make it easy for your baby's fingers to grasp the food. You should be left with a finger-sized portion. So my 200 grams of butternut is now steamed, and I'm let it cool a little bit. I'm now going to be adding 1 tablespoon of almond butter to the butternut, and I'm also going to be adding around 2 pinches of cinnamon just to season the mash. I like to use just a basic fork to do the mashing so that there is still quite a lot of texture to the vegetable and we don't make the mash too smooth. Remember, you want your baby to get used to textures that are very close to the normal consistency of food rather than pureeing it or making it too thin. I like to serve the butternut fingers alongside the mash for Nova to feed herself. So the fourth recipe is a cucumber mint yogurt dip, which we're serving with grilled chicken strips. It's a really easy no-cook recipe to prepare for the dip. You're going to be using a quarter cucumber, around 70 grams, 90 grams of Greek yogurt, 8 mint leaves, and then 2 to 3 finger-sized grilled chicken strips to serve. I'm just going to be removing the seeds from the center of the cucumber. And I mean, if you choose to peel the cucumber, you can do that, but I like to leave it in. It gives it more of a tzatziki type texture. I'm now adding it to the food processor along with the Greek yogurt. I'm using lovely fresh mint leaves, so around 8 leaves. I just trim those with our kitchen scissors, and then I'm going to give them a quick wash under the tap before adding them to the food processor and blending with the yogurt and cucumber. I'm roughly chopping the leaves because our food processor blades are quite big and they don't always pick up the leaves and chop them finely. But if you've got a handheld food processor, you probably don't need to pre-chop. And then I'm just going to blitz on a high speed until it's well blended. And then I serve with plain grilled chicken. Our next recipe is a fish, broccoli, and potato mash, which we're seasoning with thyme. I'm just preparing the potatoes. I'm using 1 whole potato, which I peel and dice and then pop into the steamer. I'm preparing some broccoli florets here, keeping a few pieces for Novi to hold in her hand. The others we'll use in mash. I'm seasoning with thyme, and this just really elevates the taste of the dish for the little ones. And once steaming is done, which usually takes around 8 minutes, you put it all into one dish and keep aside some florets for finger food. The rest you're going to mash all together using a fork, again keeping quite a coarse texture so your baby can experience the natural texture and feeling of the food. This recipe also freezes really well, and you get about 20 tablespoons of ice cubes from one batch.
Alright guys, I think we're going to land the video here today. Thanks so much for cooking with us. I hope you enjoyed the recipes and found some inspiration for your own baby-led weaning cooking journey. I'd love to hear what your little one is enjoying during this early stage of introducing solids. Hey! If you did like the video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you'd like to follow along for more motherhood and lifestyle videos. Hey Viva! Catch you in the next one.